Let's get ready for Monday Mortgage Minute with your hosts, Tom McNamara and Bruce Woodburn.
All right.
Hello, Bruce.
Happy Monday to you. Busy weekend, a lot of activity out there. But I am seeing a slight slowdown in the market. And I have a feeling that it might have something to do with the election.
I 100% agree. I've been seeing that for the last few weeks. And everybody that I talk to says a lot of the same. And you look back historically. Well, historically, it's been the case too, right? That when there's a presidential election year, everything kind of slows down. Big decisions, because there's fear, and fear brings about indecision. So,
well, we also generally expect, and people think, that rates are going to drop just before an election. And even though they cut the Fed rate, we saw rates go up. So that slowed things down a little bit too.
For sure. And I think we are going to see 2 more Fed rate cuts over the next 6 months or 4 months. And, we'll probably see a little bit of a lowering. But at the same time, I hear now the jobs report numbers are so good that we may not see those rate cuts.
But you know what? Isn't it interesting? Because they post that, and then 2 weeks later they go, well, that wasn't quite right. Those were mostly part-time jobs, or those are people that are struggling getting second jobs. So you have to look at the real numbers. So they're quick to come out with these numbers, and then they correct them a week later.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah. It's always interesting. What is it that Mark Twain said? There's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, I know we were going to you and I were talking over the weekend about what's going on with people trying to get deals, right? So,
well, because I'll get calls from people that say, hey, Bruce, I just want a foreclosure or a short sale. So my question to them is, why is that you want? Oh, I want to pick up a really good deal. Okay. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, that's kind of my specialty, right? I've been doing that since about 2012, 13. I actually have bought a lot of homes from distressed homeowners, sometimes the home's distressed, sometimes the seller's distressed, sometimes they're both distressed, right? So I've bought quite a number of homes that way. And, back in all the way through about 2016 or 17, you can actually do that and get pretty good deals, get a house at 50-60% on the dollar. And
now, in order to do that, ultimately, the people that I see do that are professional investors or flippers. They're not the average person that's going out and going, oh, I found a distressed sale and I'm going to get, 60 cents on the dollar on this house.
That's right. Yeah, it's just not happening. And the other thing is that, the banks aren't banks aren't taking it in the shorts on it anymore either, because there's enough equity in most people, unless they just bought their house over the last, let's say, 36 months.
Well, remember, Tom, they remember what happened after the recession, when these banks were just trying to unload property because nobody was paying bills. So they were dumping them right and left. But that's not at all the case right now. And the few short sales or foreclosures that are even out there don't end up selling at pennies on the dollar unless you get to the person before anybody else does. And then
you have to get them before the auction.
So you've got a situation right now. We won't mention any client names, but you got a situation right now that you've got a family that hasn't made a mortgage payment in 3 years.
They're a little over 3 years in arrears.
They're behind by $45,000 in payments. They're going to be foreclosed on. When is the foreclosure coming due?
Next week, Monday or Tuesday. I forget. Monday
or Tuesday. So these people will be out of a home, right?
Correct.
But they don't think they're going to be out of a home.
Well, that's, so we'll get into the psychology of people in foreclosure. Their heads are still buried in the sand that there's a solution out there that's going to keep them in their home. And there's not, right? There's not, unless they
Not
have a
after
white
3
knight.
years. 3 years is a long time for a bank to wait to foreclose.
Yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, they do have a reinstatement payoff amount. They just have to come up with $46,000 and they can stay in their home, So it's not going to happen, right? So, unfortunately, they're facing that. But the bright side for them is that, next week their house is going to get sold, and I'm not 100% sure how quick the sheriff is going to get a writ of possession and they're going to kick them out, but it's going to be within, let's say, another week from there at the worst, right, or at the best for them. And so within 2 weeks they're going to be out of a house and let's say homeless. And the good news for them, though, is that the foreclosure sale, they only owe 156, I think, is their payoff, including all the arrears. Okay. Their house is worth, let's say, 280 in great condition. So what's going to happen is when it goes up for foreclosure sale, it's most likely going to sell for somewhere between, let's say, 240 and 265. And so whatever that number is, I'm sure there's going to be some fees that the lender is going to take and the auctioneer is going to take and what have you. But they're going to pay off the loan. They're going to take those fees out. And these people are going to walk away with, let's say, somewhere between 75 and 100 grand. Yeah. Right. So they get $75,000 to $100,000.
Get them back. If they wipe out that debt, make sure that it's clean and start over and start cleaning up their credit with that money, within 2 years, they could be a homeowner again.
If they wanted to, for sure. So I guess the big point is, though, that there's no deal, right? That house is not going to sell for 220. It's not going to sell for 210. You're going to pay pretty much full price. You're probably going to pay an auctioneer fee. And then there's problems with the house, right? So it does. We
don't even know about because you can't get in and see it.
That's right. It has a structural problem. It needs probably anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 worth of work on the structure. Now it's a newer home. It's just it was built kind of on the side of a hill, and there's some erosion of the dirt underneath it. So it's got that problem. And so you're going to spend that. You're going to spend some money on cosmetics. And so, unless you could pick that house up for like 180 to 200, there's literally no deal there, and it's not going to sell for that. It's going to sell for quite a bit more. And I've got a funny thing. We were talking about how little of this there is throughout the entire state of Florida in August of this year. That's the latest that we have data on. Short sales are up 39%. Oh my gosh, the world is falling apart. Right? Yeah, except we went from 23 to 32. So the whole state.
The entire state.
Yeah. So we sold 23,000 homes. 23,000 homes. 32 of them were short sales.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty small percentage.
Needle in a haystack.
Yeah, and 152 were foreclosures. So when people say silly things like foreclosures are up massively, short sales are up massively, yes, as a statistic, year-over-year change, month-over-month change, of course, they are. But as a statistic,
there's not a lot of them around.
Yeah. It's just not happening, right? It's just not happening. So that's the data that I have. And, I know the mortgage market. I mean, you obviously keep up with that. There's not a lot of foreclosure activity happening.
There's not. I don't see a lot of it going on in my industry, but I do see I have people call me thinking that is going to be a deal. And I'm like, listen, just find the house you want, because if you're looking for a short sale or a foreclosure and you're trying to get a deal, you're not going to choose the house you want. You have to find the house that's available.
That's right. That's another point is, I remember the first time when I first started investing in homes, I invested off the MLS, and I hired a realtor because I wasn't one at the time. And we looked at 30 homes in a weekend, 30. And I whittled that down. I could have looked at 100, and I got to pick the ones that I wanted to buy out of those 30. And every weekend you could do the same thing. You can go out and, look at 30 different homes and pick two that you wanted to buy. Now you're lucky to find one every 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So it's just not the same.
I think that the point of this is that find the house you want, pick the area you want. It's even hard to find exactly what you want, even when you're doing that, let alone trying to find a needle in a haystack. So the point is, get what you want. Just find what fits your needs. It doesn't have to be a short sale, a foreclosure. It doesn't have to be new construction. Doesn't have to be existing. It could be any one of them. Just find the realtor to find the home that's going to get the right home for you. And that's where you come in, my friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love helping people find the great home for them, their next home. We've got a couple coming up here in the next 2 weeks. I think we've got 2 closing. So, and then honestly, I'm starting to get more activity on all my listings are starting to get more activity. So as much as we're not getting the offers and we're not getting the sales, we're definitely getting more activity. So I think the end of this year is gonna really
it's going to be a game changer. We're going to start to see a lot of things changing. If interest rates could just drop a little bit, maybe a half a point, I think it's going to really make a big difference for people. But that remains to be seen. And with these unemployment numbers coming out the way they are, there's no telling if we're going to see a break in rate. And you got all these people waiting, people that waited before the election. And now the interest rates are actually higher than they were before the drop. I mean, come on. And people don't expect that and they don't understand it. If you want a greater understanding of why that happened, just contact me. You've got my website and my email attached to this podcast. So
the number's right below.
Yeah. All right, man. I got to run.
Bruce, you have a great week. I will talk to you soon.